How's it going, everyone? Hope all of you are having a wonderful day today. Today is Friday. Depending on the time you're watching this, maybe over the weekend, but today is Friday, and we have seen a massive reversal on Bitcoin and the whole cryptocurrency space, right? Is this going to be lasting forever, or is this going to be a fake out where we dump even further? Well, in today's video, that's what we're going to be talking about today. So I'm very excited to go ahead and be here. I am extremely tired. Just got back from the gym, so very low on energy, but we're going to go ahead and do what we could do. And as well, I have ordered some pizza, which I'm patiently waiting for that. Last time I ordered some, I think it was last weekend or a week, and it took literally over an hour and a half just to deliver my pizza. So I figured, let me go ahead and order it, and hopefully by the time we're done streaming, I can actually enjoy my food, right? I'm freaking hungry, man. I haven't ate all day, so after a good workout, today's going to be my cheat meal. You usually have to treat yourself with that after you have a pretty good week of training hard and eating well. You got to do it. I believe in cheat meals, right? That's me personally, but I'm glad to have all of you here already. Dabmaster, long time no see, my guy. Been texting you, haven't heard back from you. I'm glad to see and that you're doing well. Life's Trader, how are you going? How are you doing today, man? Hope you're having a good one. Happy. Hope you're having a good one. So let me go ahead and start sharing the live stream with the community. And yeah, well, we're going to go ahead and talk about the charts. It's going to be something very quick, as I mentioned. The thing is that, when we talk about, the market, the good thing about this is that all of you should be already aware of what we could expect to the market, right? There's no surprise when we talk about the market because so far we've nailed it almost 1-to-1. And when we do see this kind of reversal in the market, we are not surprised, right? We're not surprised due to the fact that this is something that we expected. What we're seeing in the market right now is what we expected a few days ago, right? We just said we have to wait till how Friday ends. We're going to go ahead and see how, the Fed meeting goes. And so far, we have been seeing a lot of volatility as we expected and we talked about, right? So now let's go ahead and go into the charts because Bitcoin's looking very good. I still get a lot of people telling me that Bitcoin's going to crash below $20,000. I just do not see that. And a lot of you know that, I've been the biggest bear with crypto, with Bitcoin overall since back in December. And I do believe there's still going to be a short squeeze with that $85,000 being the target. And literally, we've been nailing it 1-to-1, right? Can I be wrong right here? Yes, 100%. But so far, it has been following what we've been talking about these last couple of days. Bro, I haven't seen your text. Just call, bro. Bet. I'll give you a call, man. I'm glad to hear that you're doing well, though, dude. I'm glad. I was a little worried. Yeah, so Bitcoin's looking pretty good, and we talked about these ranges right now, right? We're going to go ahead and talk about base. We're going to go ahead and talk about how that's reacting, and then we're going to go ahead and talk about we're first going to talk about Bitcoin, then we're going to talk about the base tokens. I'm literally off. I just got back from the gym, hit shoulders and back today, and I'm freaking done, man. I'm super done, but I told myself, let me go ahead and do a stream before I get too tired later, and then when I eat, I'm definitely not going to be in the mood of wanting to stream because I'm going to be so slumped and tired. So I apologize, I'm a little slow right now, all right? So bear with me, but looking at Bitcoin, we talked about these ranges back over here with the whole entire ETF, right? And I know this is very repetitive talk, guys, but this is something I always want to go ahead and bring up just so we could be aware that this is the reason why we're seeing this is because in reality, it just makes sense, right? So this is where the ETF talk was, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, it was right here. And we're doing the same exact thing, like inverse head and shoulders pattern with a reversal. Then we mooned, and then we're doing the same thing right here, right now. Literally, I told a lot of you not to be shaken out of this market. because we were expecting some sort of another fake out with another liquidity grab, and that's exactly what we're seeing right now, right? So I do expect Bitcoin to probably dump once we reach back to that $67,000 range possibly, and we could go ahead and see it retest his $59,000 range for the last liquidity grab before seeing a massive breakout to the upside. This is something very similar that we saw within these ranges right here. But it did actually act very, very quickly. So this inverse head and shoulders pattern actually just ended up completing the whole entire thing without dumping all the way lower than what we expected, right? So we could expect a very similar breakout to what we saw during the ETF talks. And a lot of you were following me within that time of the Bitcoin ETFs, and I told a lot of you that Bitcoin wasn't going to hit $100,000 within this range. I did tell a lot of you to expect some sort of fake out with a dump, and that's exactly what we got, right? But within this range, when a lot of people were trying to short, I told a lot of you, you don't short bottoms, you short tops, and you long bottoms, right? So some people decided to short thinking we're going to dump more, and they got stopped, they got liquidated, or they got stopped out of their position. This is the reason why we saw this massive move to the upside on Bitcoin, right? And we're seeing the same exact thing right now. Let's go ahead and check over onto the Bitcoin heat map and see where the liquidity grabs are coming from for Bitcoin in the next coming days or the next coming hours. I like to go ahead and use CoinGlass right here, and we're gonna go ahead and check if there's any liquidity grabs. So it looks like we don't so far, at least on the 24 hours. Let's go ahead and see if we have anything on the weekly. And on the weekly, I really don't see much either. So this is actually quite surprising. I'm assuming probably a lot of people already got liquidated out of their positions because we were talking about this, I think it was this little range right here where I did mention there was going to be a lot of longs being, a lot of shorts getting triggered out of their positions. I can't remember exactly where it was. I'm not sure if it was right here, the $64,000 range. So we're gonna go ahead and see that. Maybe they already got triggered. No, they haven't gotten triggered yet. So I wonder if they still have a lot of shorts within that range again, or actually that's lies. I think it was right here. I think it was right here, if I'm not mistaken, where a lot of shorts were going to get stopped out of their position, and that's probably the reason why we did see this liquidity grab to the upside, running to Bitcoin, hitting towards that $63,000 range very, very quickly, right? So I do remember now. It looks like this was the area where we were going to get a lot of liquidity from shorts getting liquidated. I think it might have been over like 50 something million, and I did mention it was like no more than like a 1% pump away from that. So we did hit that, and you saw how quickly the market reacted, where when we started hitting these liquidation points, chat, remember that the market runs up and reacts very, very quickly to it. And it's not because of a change of reversal. Yes, we did get a change of reversal, but because of that liquidity grab, a lot of people are not aware of that, which a lot of people kind of FOMO'd into their positions, right? So right now, Bitcoin, in my opinion, is looking very, very bullish, still towards that target of $85,000, in my opinion. We could go ahead and see one of the scenarios where we do see Bitcoin get rejected within this range right here at $64,000 and then dump all the way back down, retesting back to this $46,000. I'm not saying that's not possible. It's definitely possible, but in my opinion, I do not see that happening, right? As I mentioned, we have to go ahead and stick to the charts and not stick to what we want to hear or what we believe is going to happen. We have to go ahead and run with the narrative of what the charts are telling us. And as I mentioned, RSI just ripped through that. Doesn't mean we can't get rejected, but that's looking pretty bullish in my opinion. Market's reacting very well, and you know, during a weekend, typically when the market ends on a green, that usually means we're going to be expecting a very bullish week the next following week, right? So in my opinion, it looks like the market is projecting some sort of bullish run towards the week. We usually do have these moments where we do end the week green, and then we're followed by a red market because of some BS. But typically, if any major event around the world, like a war or missiles attacks or anything like that's going to happen, usually the market always does that before a weekend, meaning they always do it before the stock market closes on a Friday. They'll do it like an hour before they'll launch some missiles or an attack. And it says my driver's on its way for some pizza, so I'm gonna have to probably stop in between. It says I should be getting that very soon. Let me see where they're at. So I apologize if you guys do see me get off of stream for a few minutes to grab my food, but Okay, so I don't know, 14 to 20 minutes. So as I was mentioning, typically that's what we see during a Friday is if there's going to be any missile or any kind of attacks, it's always going to happen a few hours or a few minutes before market closes on the stock market. And we did see actually the stock market close on a green, right? So that does mean that we typically will go ahead and be followed by a green a week, right? And I did mention to a lot of you, expect towards the end of April to be a very volatile week and expect some bullishness towards the first week or towards the mid of May is where we should be getting a lot of these tokens to reverse or some bullish sentiment into the market. And that's exactly what we're seeing, right? And it's not just me guessing, predicting. This is because we have actual factual data that we were able to rely on, right? We talked about the DXY going within the zone where we were probably more than likely going to consolidate within this range before we saw the DXY falling back down. And that's exactly what we were followed through with, right? So it's looking really, really bullish. Everything's looking in our favor. This is no hype. As I mentioned, we want to stick to what the data is telling us, and the data is showing us bullishness in the market. The same thing with the Dow Jones, the US 100, the same thing. I mean, look at that freaking gap, man. I literally drew this little thing right here, this little box, and we talked about how more than likely, if we were to go ahead and fall below it, we were going to be coming down and it will be looking extremely bearish for the market. But I did mention that that probability was very low due to the fact of the DXY and signs of the market reversing. And that's exactly what we're seeing right now, right? Now, the big question is, will the US 100, which is the NASDAQ, will it go ahead and break this resistance right here around that 18,000? If we do go ahead and get rejected, do expect a little bit of impact in the market, but as long as we stay within this little square right here, we should be bullish, guys, because at the end of the day, we are trending to the upside, right? So as long as we do that, we should be bullish. Once we do go ahead and break, like let's say we break this momentum down, it doesn't mean it's completely over, but it will mean that there's more signs of bearishness. And obviously we do fall below this range right here and we close down below it. It's not going to be looking too good for Bitcoin and especially for altcoins and meme tokens, right? So right now, so far, the market's looking extremely bullish. As I mentioned, typically, if some sort of missile attack was to happen over the weekend, the market would have never finished in a green, right? I'm just telling you based on what I've analyzed over the time, this is typically what we see in the market. We usually don't see any sort of behavior like this. It says, supposedly my driver is about 5 minutes away from ordering my food, so I'm gonna go ahead and check right here outside. But with that being said, yeah, if you guys just see me walk out, but yeah, market's looking extremely bullish. I'm in LA, bro. Cali. I'm in Cali, bro. How about yourself? So yeah, that's where we're at right now. It's looking pretty good. Market's looking bullish. Nothing to panic about. I'm not saying we should be fully confident of the market, but what we are seeing right now is a crypto fear and greed indicator currently right now at a 48 level of fear. So that's really interesting. I wonder if that's going to go ahead and change in the next couple hours. I think Asian market opens around, if I'm not mistaken, if I can remember correctly, it should open in about 45 minutes, 35 or 45 minutes, if I'm not mistaken. So we're going to go ahead and see how when this updates next, but I do believe we should be going back to neutral. But as I mentioned, usually when there's fear in the market, that's usually a good sign to buy the dip, right? Not financial advice, but yesterday we were at a 43 of fear, and today we were at a 48. So I do expect that to be changing very, very soon in the next couple hours. Doesn't mean the market can't change, but usually when we're seeing this kind of sentiment in the market, it does definitely mean that a lot of people might be loading up on those reversals coming soon, right? So looking at crypto bubbles, it looks like the market's a little bit neutral right now. Looking at the hourly, as far as the daily, it looks like everything's freaking green. Dogecoin up 11.2%, and a few other tokens up there in the ranges. WIF at 13.4. So usually when the market corrects, the meme tokens take a massive hit, seeing corrections of 40 to 70%, sometimes even 80%, right? And it's really, really scary, but when the market reverses, we get these gains to come up very, very quickly. 11% on Deutsche might not excite a lot of you, 13%, but when you're leverage trading, that is a nice little swing trade, right? Especially when you're doing it with leverage. So these altcoins usually tend to have the tendency to get hit very, very hard, but also when they reverse, it reverse pretty quickly, right? So that's a really good bullish sign in my opinion. Now let's go ahead and talk about what I do see in the market in the next coming days. But overall, before I do go ahead and do that, make sure if you are looking for an exchange to leverage trade on or just do spot trading, go ahead and check out Blofin down below in the description. Non-KYC platform is very similar to Bybit, and it doesn't require any ID or any of that sort. So definitely go ahead and check them out. It takes less than 3 seconds to create an account, and you do have up to $5,000 in sign-up bonuses. Go ahead and support the channel using my link down below. But I wanted to go ahead and show this tweet right here from Bitcoin Senses. Massive bullish news. The M2 money supply oscillator chart has flipped to positive recently. The signals potentially liquidity flowing into Bitcoin and the broader crypto markets. So as we're seeing, it looks like we should be seeing possibly some Bitcoin dominance go back up. So that's where that $85,000 Bitcoin, as crazy as a lot of people tell me, I think it's going to happen, and we're going to see. We're going to see where that really goes, right? I also want to go ahead and show you this right here. Impressive performance by Coinbase. It reported over 1.6 billion in revenue during Q1 of 2024, compared to 700 and 361 million in Q1 2023. So they definitely had a massive increase of revenue. So I know definitely all the investors, all the advisors at Coinbase are definitely enjoying those rewards when it comes to their stocks, right? So everybody's happy in the NASDAQ, and this is the reason why I'm telling you NASDAQ has a strong correlation compared to what really a lot of people really expect. UK, nice, man. Nice. So let's go ahead and check out some other news right here. We have after 2 days of just trading, we keep in mind we just had the Hong Kong Bitcoin ETF that just happened. I think it went live about 2 days ago, and now they have accumulated over 4,888 or 4,088 Bitcoin, valued at approximately $240 million. So that is insane, right? To me, I really wouldn't go ahead and say this is extremely bullish. I mean, to me, I like to look at more of the technical side of things, because you have to keep in mind, even these companies, even if they're not always right all the time, right? We have to go ahead and a lot of these people that are in these big financial companies honestly probably have had the worst place that I've seen these last couple of years in the crypto market, calling for $1 million Bitcoin, 100,000, and it does completely the opposite. So I really take everything with a grain of salt when they say anything. I like to go ahead and stick to what I believe in my narrative. But yeah, that is definitely something I wanted to go ahead and share, just because it does show that there is some growth and fundamental information with technical analysis definitely does help with our predictions even better, right, in my opinion. So overall, the market's looking extremely bullish, and nothing to panic about. Doesn't mean the market can't have a reversal starting next week, but as I mentioned, I do expect more green in the next following weeks, right? And that's kind of the reason why I've been talking about Andy hitting a potential another 9 to 10x, taking us to 20 cents, which will take us to over 180, I think it was 180 million market cap. Andy right now so far has been holding within this range at around the 19 million market cap. So it does look like this resistance has now become that new area of support, which is something that I'm really excited to see. Nothing excites me more when meme tokens respect their charts. It's not something that's very common. So we could definitely go ahead and say that we are dealing with some professionals in the token launch creation of this token, right? Andy, definitely it is someone who has had experience, and it definitely shows it in the charts, right? You can tell when a team has had experience and when a team is really trying to take it to the next levels. You guys have to think about this, that when a team is launching a token, they want their tokens to reach millions of market caps, because that means they get paid really well, right, when they start reaching those high market cap areas, right? So always keep that in mind. So Andy, in my opinion, is looking pretty good. We're about to cross that $23,000 holder range. Volume is quite low at 234,000. Definitely would like to see that a little bit higher, but it's not too bad, right? And right now we are seeing a little bit of neutral, nothing too crazy. So we are expecting that breakout very, very soon. So do be in the lookout for that. Obviously, we do lose this area of support. Do expect Andy to probably come back down to these ranges right here, which at the end of the day still wouldn't be bearish, but it would mean that we will go ahead and see another 60 to 70% correction. So don't freak out if we were to go ahead and see that. But so far, so good. Andy is definitely showing an increase of volume, and a lot of purchases are being made, which is a good sign over compared to selling pressure, right? There's more buying pressure than selling pressure, which is a good sign for us to go ahead and be aware of, right? So let's go ahead and take a look at Brett, because we talked about how Brett was looking quite bearish, and right now it's actually up 30%. So we're going to go ahead and see if Brett could actually go ahead and come back and break out of this downtrend. So the area that I'm looking for Brett to go ahead and break out of is within this range right here. If we could go ahead and see Brett break out of this range, we will be back in a uptrend, and that means that the downtrend is already done with, and we weren't going to go ahead and see these levels. So that would be a good sign for Brett. We are seeing a little bit more buying pressure as compared to selling pressure, but we do still need to go ahead and get that confirmation that the downtrend has officially been over. So we're going to go ahead and keep our eyes locked in on Brett in the next 2 to 3 days and see how this chart reacts. If we do go ahead and see this break fully, that would be a clear sign that this downtrend is completely over with. So we're going to go ahead and keep our eyes on this. Looking at Benny. Benny has actually been performing really, really well these last couple days, right? So let's go ahead and take a look at Benny. Benny's actually down 20%, but we did actually see it reach at least 7 million plus market cap, and Benny is still in this bullish range. We are seeing a lot of profit taking happening from this bottom to this top. We did see over a 1.5%, which is, or 150%, which is about 1.5x, almost a 2x. So a lot of just profit takers and traders we're just, you know, trading that swing trade. You got to keep in mind, some people are going to hold on to these tokens longer term. Some of them are going to go ahead and trade with the momentum, right? So it is pretty healthy, nothing, you know, scary. Looking at the 4 hourly, we still do see some sort of area of support being held, and we do see that inverse head and shoulders pattern with that cup and handle pattern. So we are getting ready for another breakout to the upside on Benny. So literally everything is now finally lining up to us. And keep in mind, a lot of these tokens are going to be running up very, very similar to one another, but that is over. I do expect over a 10x with Benny too as well in the next coming week. So as long as the market keeps up with what we're seeing in the market, we should be good, and we should be seeing a lot of these tokens play off very well for us, right? So we're going to go ahead and see where things go for us moving forward. As for, let's go ahead and see what other tokens we see. Higher has been going up higher. Roost, as usual. I know someone mentioned Roost to me. I said I was not bullish on this whatsoever, and it just seems like it continues to dump even after every other token continues to reverse. Yes, it has been hot trending. That is based on the volume, but I do believe that volume is being artificially created by the team to go ahead and grab more people as a liquidity graph for them to exit their positions. Doesn't mean that they can't go ahead and see a quick reversal out of this, and the market could go ahead and start buying up Roost. But Roost, since it was a pre-sale tokens, you know how I feel about pre-sale tokens, and how typically there's a lot of manipulation. But if you are looking to go ahead and be bullish on Roost, I want to go ahead and see a break out of this box first, and we could go ahead and start talking about it. But it could be a possible inverse head and shoulders pattern also, and finally coming down to an end on it being the bottom, right? So we're going to go ahead and see. As I mentioned, to me, it doesn't excite me yet, but we're going to see where things go moving forward with that. As to Ski Mask Dog is still consolidating within this range. I'm going to go ahead and see if we are going to fall back down over here. Falling down below this line right here, this blue line that I have, will be extremely bearish. So definitely keep that in mind. It looks like my food is finally literally 30 seconds away. So let me go ahead and grab that real quick, and I'll be right back, all right? Apologize for that. All right, I'm back, guys. Just went ahead and got me a treat for the week, right? Probably not the healthiest thing, but you got to treat yourself after having a killer workout week. So let's go ahead and go back to it. Ski mask, project that I've been extremely bullish on. But as I mentioned, we got to go ahead and be patient and see where levels are respected, right? I'm like literally out of breath because I ran up here as quick as possible to get back on stream. So right now, looking at the 4 hourly on ski mask, looking extremely bullish still. Nothing to go ahead and worry about. As I mentioned, we should go ahead and start being worried if we do go ahead and lose this range right here. So if we do go ahead and fall below this, it wouldn't mean we're completely bearish, but it will give us signs that there's more selling pressure than buying pressure, right? So keep that in mind. I think ski mask is going to be something very similar to like a dog with hat. And we have been seeing a lot of growth here. We see over 28,000 holders, currently at a 19 million market cap. And I was looking at this at around, I think it was a little bit under a 10 million market cap. So I've been seeing the growth, but I've been just patient on it. As I mentioned, my bags right now, it's mostly just Andy and Benny. I do have a few others, for example, like Bowden, which is not looking too good. I'm already down like over 90%. I bought the dip on it only a little bit, and it's just doing the opposite. CJ, I do think CJ might do well eventually, but then I came to realize that this was a pre-sale play. We did see it go as high as 20 million plus market cap. But honestly, this one doesn't look as bad as the other pre-sale tokens that we've come across, right? I've already got into 2 pre-sales, one of them being on base, which is Aped. Did terrible, man. I put in 180 bucks, came out with 25 bucks. And then for Solana, I jumped into Slothana, almost waited a whole entire month and a half, put in about $200. And I pulled out yesterday because I finally got my airdrop. I pulled out about $90, right? So I'm already done with pre-sales. As I always mention, pre-sales are hit or miss, but I think after the book of memes, that really brought in a lot of scammers into this space, like got more people excited and more willing to throw their money. And we've seen this multiple times, right? As I mentioned, in the last couple of years that I've been in crypto, the pre-sales that I participated in, I've only had 3 successful pre-sales. So that should tell you a lot. Pre-sales are mostly going to be just scams, and they're not going to work out, right? It's going to be 1 in a million that they will do good, and the ones that do good, you're going to make a lot of money, right? But those chances are very, very slim. But I do believe the book of memes definitely brought in more excitement and greed into the market for people like myself to just go ahead and throw some money and see where things go. For me, that's why I only threw in a little bit of money with these pre-sales. You could get lucky with these pre-sales, but 9 out of 10, you're always going to lose unless you know the team personally and you know what they're going to do, right? I think that's the only way you could really win. Right now, I haven't been jumping into new tokens, but a token that I was looking at this morning as soon as it launched was called Trumpy Base. It's like a Trump-related token. When I was looking at this thing was at like 8,000 market cap. It literally launched when I went over to Deck Screener, and I was gonna go ahead and ape in a little bit, but I was like, dude, you know what? I've been getting wrecked too much in this market. I got to go ahead and chill. I'm tired of just throwing money into these pre-sales or these tokens and then just dying off or getting rugged, right? So I'd rather play the safer play. Not saying Benny and Andy can't just dump out of nowhere, but the chances of that happening are very low compared to throwing your money into a new token. But this one actually didn't do too bad. But looking at it right now, it says liquidity is number 1. So I don't know if they already... Oh, they actually just removed liquidity like 2 hours ago. So this token's dead. So there you go. I'm glad I didn't jump into this. But I was taking a look at this one, and I'm like, maybe this is a good play to jump into, right? I was checking it out, liked it. I was going to go ahead and throw in a couple dollars. And then I realized, I was like, I don't have any. I have to go ahead and move my Solana into base, which I'm too lazy. The token released 10 minutes. By the time I do all of this, it's probably going to dump a rug pull. So this is a perfect, what is it? example of what could happen. This one launched 5 hours ago. I told you I saw it within 10 minutes. It was doing kind of good. It went from like 8,000 to 10,000, and then I saw it go to 30,000 earlier today. And they literally just removed liquidity about 2 hours ago. As you see, it says remove, and it tells you how much they ended up removing. They ended up removing about 3.17 ETH, which is about, I'm not sure if that's about 12,000, or 6,000. I don't know the price of ETH right now. But they removed the LP because it was never locked, right? So this is the reason why, for me personally, I never ape into these projects earlier on. Yes, you can make a lot of money, but you have a higher chance of you just gambling and throwing your money. So you're better off, chat, and this is what I'm telling you based on experience of getting wrecked so many times. If a token's bullish, it's always going to correct eventually, 80%. It might correct in a month, it might correct in 2 weeks, it might correct in 4 days, it might correct in 3 days, but eventually a top will come in and it will dump 60 to 80%. Now, when it dumps at 60 to 80%, that gives you not only an advantage to jump back in, but it also gives you an advantage to see if there was a real project with like real community and people actually liked it, or if it was just a pure pump and dump, right? And that's where you're going to save yourself not only from losing money, but also entering good opportunities. Because if a token does have a good hype community and the people are loving it, whether we have those 80% corrections, you're going to go ahead and see it just trending up, kind of like what you're seeing with Andy, right? Same thing like what you're seeing with Benny. That's when you're going to go ahead and see the community is actually enjoying it, right? But a lot of these tokens, they might be hyped for 2 to 3 days and they might never recover, right? We talked about Candy, like this one right here, another example, Candy. It was very, very hot. I saw it pump. I saw this dump right here, and I'm like, I'm going to go ahead and keep an eye on and see how it does. And then it pumped one last time, and it dumped. Yeah, the market kind of killed it, but it all comes down to the community, right? If the community is able to hold on to the chart and the team, we are going to see a healthy correction and a pump and dump, right? But when we're seeing this gives me a lot of information that there's a lot of paper hands, early buyers, people, the community didn't really believe in the project or the team was selling literally at every pump. And this is what a team selling project looks like. Not saying that the team did that, but typically this is what it looks like, right? This kind of chart, this gives you there's more selling pressure than buying pressure. So there's more people that lost money buying into Candy than made money. Now, and you're like, John, but I made money. Yeah, well, you're probably the lucky one that got in here right here, and you're probably the smart one that sold the top and never got in again, right? But to the people that were dollar cost averaging, they got wrecked, and this project might never come again. I might be wrong, it could come back, but what I'm saying is you have to be very, very careful when it comes to a lot of these projects, because there is a lot of projects I want to quickly jump into, but I hold off because I want to see how the market's going to react, right? Right now, we're seeing Brit, which is Brett's girlfriend, pump. It's up 123%, about almost a 1 point something X. We were talking about Brit back over here, and I did mention there's a possibility we could see her come back down even lower, but we're looking at these levels right here of support that it bounced back out of. Now the question is, if Brit is pumping because it's supposed to be Brett's girlfriend, wasn't Candy supposed to be Andy's girlfriend? So if we don't see this pumping in the next couple days, in my opinion, that would just mean that the narrative is dead for this one, or this one just didn't succeed, right? So that's why I would always recommend all of you, if you do believe into a project, if you don't have the option to jump in early on, go ahead and wait. Do not FOMO into it. But do not FOMO into it. And if there's a project that you're seeing the community is putting in work, the developers seem pretty good, just dollar cost average. But realistically, most of these projects are just going to be worth a pump and dump. They're not going to be worth dollar cost averaging. If you do want a dollar cost average into a meme, I would suggest sticking to Dogecoin, Shiba, with the higher cap already meme tokens. Those are at least going to do another additional 10 to 20x this bull run. But when it comes to these are very, very high risk plays. And in my opinion, they're worth just trading them as opposed to investing in them. But there is a few that might be worth doing that. To me, I still go back to Andy and Benny. I've been with them since the beginning. And it's great to see the kind of growth, right? So far, I don't know the team. I wish I did know them. But so far, you could tell the team is a pretty base team, and they're here to go ahead and really do big numbers, right? They're not here settling for a 10 million market cap. They're here to probably approach hundreds of millions and possibly approach that billion market cap, right? And that's what you want to look for with these projects, but it's very, very minimal that you're going to see this. It's a higher chance you'll find this on base, but you have to be very, very careful, right? Because a lot of these will be pump and dumps and will just be liquidity grabs. That's why for me personally, I do not get excited and jump into these projects right away. I like to look at them just like when we're looking at Bitcoin on the charts, right? Before we get excited, before we start talking about this, we need to look into the charts and see if what we're talking about makes sense, right? Right now, I am looking at a few plays. I'm still looking at GameStop, see how that reacts. But right now, so far, I'm going to be honest with you, I don't see anything, in my opinion, that I would say that if I was to make a nice bag out of Benny and Andy after his run-up, I would be excited to throw my money in, besides Brett and Brit. And if I was to throw money on Brett, I would more than likely open up a leverage position, to be honest. And then with Brit, I would just hold on to it because we're seeing that with Brett pumps is up 30%. We're seeing about a 2 to 3x, or like, let's say, what is it, 30? We're seeing a 70% pump with Brit. So you see the kind of leverage that it kind of has, right? Every time Brett pumps like 30%, we could be expecting about 100% pump, which is a good sign, right? But we only know this when we're actually looking at the charts and paying attention. Another one that I found very interesting that I wanted to jump in the beginning, but I kind of held myself from doing that, was Brett 2.0. I don't know how this thing pumped out of nowhere, honestly. There's no surprise, but it does kind of surprise me because I feel like it kind of pumped a lot quicker than it did with Brett. But this thing already hit over a 12x, right? So if I would have jumped in here and I would have been willing to take the risk, I would have made a lot of money, and so were you, right? But like I said, it did a 10x. Now, when it dumps 80%, would it be able to survive? But so far, I'm liking when I'm looking at this chart, and I'm definitely wherever Brett 2.0 jumps to, and we talked about this. One of you guys recommended this during the live stream. But once I see this correct, and I see it correct that 80% or 60% range, I'm going to go ahead and consider loading up a bag, because now we're seeing that this is growing. 88,000 holders is a lot, in my opinion, and I'm wondering if this is if this was a pre-sale or whatnot. Let's see. LP is locked for 70 years though, which is a good sign. Contract is renounced, and it only has 1 billion supply, so that's actually pretty good, right? I haven't looked into the community, but I will consider that in the next coming days, depending on how Brett 2.0 holds. But I definitely do want to see that dump, that 60 to 80% dump, and then I'm going to see, okay, is this worth jumping into? But so far, I have my eyes on Brett 2.0. I have my eyes on a ski mask. I also have my eyes on Brit. And I remember one of you guys also mentioned Pola. So unfortunately, I decided not to jump on this. I also decided to go ahead and see where the market would take us. But with Pola, we have been seeing over a 9x on Pola. And as I mentioned, do expect some sort of correction. I'm not sure if this is going to be the top, but I do expect a 60 to 70% correction on Pola as well before we get the next leg up, right? So right now there's a lot of entries, and now a lot of these plays that we were looking at have now finally given us a confirmation that they are bullish, and now we can go ahead and pick them up on the second dump, right? And you're like, John, why would we do that? Well, the reason why we want to wait, because that way we minimize our risk of getting wrecked and jumping into a complete scam token, because I already did that with a few. I already jumped in dollar cost average into a few tokens on base, and they were complete just scams. They're not going to recover, and if they do, then I'm going to be lucky enough to get my money back on those. But I realized that you want to be patient and not FOMO into these too quickly, even though I'm very bullish on base, and I do believe that anything on base will go up. You also want to go ahead and minimize you losing too much money, right? You're better off only losing $200 than losing $1,000, or you're better off only losing $300 than dollar cost averaging to $1,000 and the token's dead, the team's lying to you, and then you miss out on actual real opportunities in the market, right? So honestly, for me personally, I don't even join the telegrams. I'm just solely looking at the charts. If I see a massive wick out of nowhere, then that's when I start investigating. Okay, what caused it? Was it an influencer? Was it a caller? Was it a new marketing something that was going on? Did they get a new influencer that pumped it? That's when I start looking into it. But I usually don't join a lot of these communities, because a lot of these communities, you have to keep in mind, the team not only hires people internally and they're part of the team, but there's also people externally that they hire to make it seem like there's actual real bullish momentum into the project, right? They manipulate you into thinking that it's very bullish, and it's not. And as your dollar cost averaging, the team is dumping their tokens on you, and that's why you never see these tokens go back up, right? So you have to be patient for these positions. I know it kind of sucks, like knowing how much you missed out, such as looking at Pola. Like, imagine if we would have jumped in when I can't remember who called it in this channel. It could have been Chicago or somebody, but someone called it. We missed out on a 9x. But as I mentioned, eventually when it corrects, we'll now go ahead and see if this was just a pure pump and dump or if there's actually a community behind it. And so far, looking at Polo, we do see over 20,000 holders, which is a good sign, right? So as I mentioned, a lot of these positions are getting ready for us to load up on. And we just have to be patient, guys. We just have to be patient on these projects. White Crypto, hey, Gary just pumped a little hard. What's your thoughts? How's it going, my guy? It's a really good thing. I actually saw that Crypto.com was talking about Gary, so that's a good sign. I thought about you today when I was at the gym, because I got a notification and it told me like Crypto.com, something about Gary, some promotion was going, and I'm like, damn, dude, Gary is really coming up. So it's great to see projects like this really make a change and really keep up with their community. I don't know how the Gary chart's doing. Let's go ahead and take a look. Let's see if we can look at how Gary's doing overall. Gary token, here we go. Right now, Gary is in this accumulation phase. So right now, Gary is doing decently until we see Gary break out of the zone right here. Which I think we talked about a while back on my last channel. But I definitely do want to see Gary come towards his range right here around the 0.05, which I believe is a 5-cent area. If we could go ahead and break through that, and we see this now being the new area of support, we could go ahead and see Gary reach back to these ranges of where it dumped from, which is up towards over $1, right? The reason why we probably saw this massive dump was probably because of a lot of VCs selling their tokens. But if we could get back within this 5-cent range, we could go ahead and be seeing a massive breakout to the upside, and I do expect that with a lot of tokens. From my understanding, if I can remember, Gary runs on Solana. And if you're bullish on, yeah, it does run on Solana. So if you're bullish on Solana and Solana does reach $500 plus, we could be expecting Mari also succeeding alongside with the market, right? So that's a really good sign when it comes to Gary on its own. But yeah, guys, like I mentioned, this was going to be a quick little video. I hope all of you have a great rest of your day. As always, go ahead and make sure to use my link down below in the description. I'm going to go ahead and eat some food because I feel like I'm literally about to pass out. I haven't eaten all day, and I just got back from that workout at the gym. So I got to go ahead and carb up and eat some food. But with that being said, I hope all of you have a great rest of your day.